We are finding the volume by rotating around x equals 0. What's x equals 0? Where is it? More specific. What kind of line is x equals 0? Don't tell me straight. Vertical line at 0. It's the y-axis. So x equals 0 is just the y-axis. X equals 9 minus y squared. What is that? A sideways parabola. If you're not sure, you could always make your t-chart, plug in for your y. If you put in a 0, you get out 9. If you put in a 1, you get 8. Negative 1 gives you 8. So let's start plotting that. So 9, 0, 8, 1, 8, negative 1. If you put in a 3, you would get 0, and negative 3 gives you 0. So we have this shape, and I don't really need to extend it beyond that because we're bounded by x equals 0, so we're bounded by the y-axis. And I am rotating that about x equals negative 1. What's x equals negative 1? Vertical line at negative 1. Okay, so this point, if you flip that, would go all the way, my scale is a little bit off, but. So if I were just to reflect this over, we get something like that. So it's hollow in the middle, kind of a football shaped on the side. So it's like football with a hollow middle. Okay, that's a really sad looking picture, but that works. We need to find, would I integrate with respect to x's or y's on this one? If it's a vertical line that we rotate around, we usually do it in terms of the y's. Okay, so I need my highest and lowest y value. What are those? 3 and negative 3. It's when these things are equal, so if you set those equal, it's when 0 equals the 9 minus y squared. So y squared equals 9. So you're plus and minus 3. Okay. So we've got that part's filled in and this part's filled in, hollow in the center. So the cross section, if you sliced off the top, you're going to look down and it's going to be kind of like a washer shape. It's hollow in the middle. So we do pi times the outside radius. Okay, when you do your outside radius, we know that from here to here, the radius would be your 9 minus y squared. But I also need to add in one more. So it's going to be 1 plus the 9 minus y squared. Does everybody understand why it's 1 plus? Minus, for the other one, pi times the radius squared. So if you're here, what's your radius to get to your axis? Just 1 all the time because it's a vertical line. Okay, so we could pull out the pi. That would leave us with a 10 minus y squared squared minus 1. So if you FOIL that, you get 100. Can I go ahead and subtract my 1 and make that a 99? Minus 10y squared would be minus 20y squared plus y to the 4th. Are there any questions so far? So now we can integrate. So the 99 would turn into 99y. 20y squared would turn into 20/3 y cubed. Y to the 4th would turn into 1/5 y to the 5th. From -3 to 3. Okay. This one might be a little bit ugly to plug in, but we can try it. So 99 times 3 would be a 297 minus 3 to the 3rd, so one of the 3's would cancel, so you have 9 times 20 is 180. 3 to the 5th, 243 over 5. Minus, if you put in a -3, we get a negative 297, positive 180, negative 243 over 5. So distribute your negative, add like terms, we get 594 minus 360 plus 486 over 5. And I don't want to keep adding this by hand. $1,656 pi. So the hardest part is the setup, if you're not just rotating around the axis. If you look, if you flip, do you guys, some of the textbooks may not have this. If you keep flipping the AP section, so if you flip a couple pages, there's like problems plus, and then there's the AP questions. I don't think the thin books have it, but the fat ones do. So if you need to share. Yeah. I want to look at question number 3 on that. So it's on that page, AP 6-1, looking at number 3. Okay, I want the volume generated by rotating the region bounded by the curves y equals 2 minus x squared, x greater than or equal to 0, x equals y, and x equals 0, about y equals 2. So if I drew this picture, y equals 2 minus x squared, what's that? A parabola. If you plug in a 0, 2 minus 0 is 2. If you plug in a 1, 2 minus 1 squared is 1. Put in a negative 1, you would get the 1 as well. So it's this upside down parabola. But do I need the entire parabola? No, we have some stipulations here. I told you that on that parabola we are only looking where x is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm only looking at that half of it. X equals y is just a line. Y-intercept of 0, slope 1. X equals 0 is what? A vertical line. If I'm just looking at this, I have a couple different possible regions, but if I'm looking at x equals 0, this is the region that we are concerned with right here. And we are going to rotate that about y equals 2. So y equals is a horizontal line at 2. And erase some of this other stuff. So I'm taking that little section of my graph and I'm going to start spinning that around this line. we're getting something like that. If you integrate around, or if you're spinning around a horizontal line, then we always integrate with respect to x. So where does my x start and stop? 0 and 1. We know it starts at x equals 0. You could find the other by setting these things equal to each other. So x equals the 2 minus x squared. If you couldn't tell from your graph. We get the intersection at -2 and +1, but we already said we weren't using the negatives. So that's why we're going to go from 0 to 1. Okay, so when we set this up, pi times. So if I took a cross section, if I sliced off the edge, you are starting here. So your radius would be from here out to the outside curve. So my radius starts at 2, and it would be 2 minus what for the first one? X. That was the line y equals x, so it's 2 minus x squared. Minus the inside one. You're starting at 2, and we need to come down to this curve, so it would be 2 minus that curve, which was the 2 minus x squared. Okay, the difference you notice on the last one, we added 1 to our radius, and this time we're subtracting. The difference is on the last one, we were rotating around a negative line, so subtracting a negative is like adding. That's why we have that slight difference there. Are there any questions on how I set this up? So if we start simplifying, if you FOIL that one, you get 4 minus 2x plus x squared. Minus, if I distribute my negative, my 2's drop, then I have an x squared squared, which is an x to the 4th. So we could integrate here. So we get 4x minus antiderivative of 2x would be an x squared plus 1/3 x cubed minus 1. Oh, when I FOIL, yep. That should be minus 4x right there. So the antiderivative, that would be a 2x squared. Thank you. Okay, if you plug in a 1, you get 4 minus 2 plus 1/3 minus 1/5. Plug in 0, we get 0. If you're doing that by hand, our common denominator would be 15. So 2 is like 30 out of 15. 1/3 is 5 over 15. 1/5 is 3 over 15. So we get 32 pi over 15. Any questions there? So those are my examples for today. You have the rest of